The Spartan awoke in a chamber of crimson light, his HUD flickering with symbols not of Covenant or Forerunner design. Runes carved in flesh and fire scrolled across his vision. His armor systems struggled to translate. Warning indicators flashed. Foreign network connections attempted to breach MJOLNIR's defenses. His body felt wrong, heavier, changed. Through the haze of pain and disorientation, Master Chief registered the restraints. Titanium alloy reinforced with some unknown material that glowed red at its seams. His arms and legs were locked in place. A heavy collar encircled his neck. Power readings from his suit fluctuated wildly. Subject 117 shows remarkable adaptive qualities. A clinical voice reported from somewhere beyond his field of vision. Argent energy absorption rate exceeds all previous subjects. Cellular reconstruction nearly complete. Another voice responded, deeper, with an edge of religious fervor. The slip space anomaly delivered him to us as promised. The board will be pleased. Chief strained against his bonds, feeling the weight of his armor differently than before. Something had changed in the very composition of his augmented body. Something burned in his veins like liquid fire. Increase argent exposure by 30%. The clinical voice instructed. I want to see if his augmentations can withstand total saturation. The red light intensified. Chief's HUD went dark, then returned with alien symbols etched in its corners. Pain lanced through him, but the Spartan training held. He compartmentalized it, buried it deep, and focused on escape. He observed the room through pain-narrowed eyes. A research facility, clearly, but unlike any UNSC or ONI installation he had ever seen. The walls were lined with screens displaying biological data and energy readings. Scientists in white uniforms emblazoned with a triangular logo moved between workstations. Behind them loomed massive windows that revealed an industrial complex spreading out beneath a red sky. This wasn't a Covenant world. This wasn't anything he recognized. Sir, a nervous technician approached. We're detecting elevated heart rate and neural activity. He may be fully conscious. The lead scientist turned toward Chief, studying him with cold calculation. Fascinating. The neural interface should have rendered cognitive function impossible during the procedure. He stepped closer, peering into Chief's visor. Can you understand me? Subject 117. Chief remained silent, conserving strength, assessing threats, looking for weaknesses in the restraints or the room's security. No matter, the scientist continued, consciousness will make the next phase more informative. Prepare the Lazarus wave. Let's see how his system interacts with controlled demonic presence. Demonic. The word registered as an anomaly in Chief's tactical assessment. Religious terminology had no place in scientific procedure, unless... A warning klaxon shattered his thoughts. Red. Emergency lights replaced the laboratory illumination. Security breach in Sector 7, a computerized voice announced. Containment failure. Lockdown initiated. The scientists froze, terror replacing their clinical detachment. Not now, the lead researcher whispered. We're too close. Screens throughout the lab switched to security feeds. Chief watched as impossible creatures of claw and horn and fire tore through security personnel in distant corridors. The slaughter was methodical, precise. These weren't mindless beasts, but soldiers executing a coordinated assault. Initiate emergency protocols, the lead scientist ordered, voice steady despite the chaos unfolding on the screens. Transfer all data on Subject 117. Prepare for facility purge. As the scientists rushed to workstations, Chief redoubled his efforts against the restraints. Something in the facility's power fluctuated, and he felt his suit systems surge. Energy reserves spiked beyond normal parameters. The alien symbols on his HUD pulsed with the same rhythm as the pain in his veins. The restraint on his right arm fractured. Sir, the subject is, the technician never finished. The laboratory doors burst inward in a shower of twisted metal and gore. Creatures poured through bipedal, humanoid, but with elongated limbs and faces twisted into permanent snarls. They moved with predatory efficiency, cutting down the scientists with claws and teeth. Chief tore his arm free, then his legs. The collar proved more difficult, connected to thick cables, feeding into the ceiling. He strained against it as chaos consumed the laboratory. The creatures, demons, the scientist had called them, had not yet noticed that one of the captives was breaking free. With a final surge of strength, augmented by whatever changes they had made to his body, Chief snapped the collar and rolled from the examination table. His legs buckled momentarily, adjusting to the altered weight and balance of his armor. Internal diagnostics scrolled across his HUD, interspersed with the alien symbols. Armor integrity at 70%, shields offline, communications non-functional. The creatures turned toward him, sensing movement. Chief took in his surroundings with combat-sharpened senses. No weapons within immediate reach, multiple hostiles, unknown territory. The first creature lunged. Chief sidestepped with Spartan reflexes, grabbed the thing's extended arm, and used its momentum to drive it headfirst into the examination table with enough force to cave in its skull. The body crumpled, leaking fluids that sizzled against the laboratory floor. Chief felt something stir inside him in response to the kill, a hunger, a heat. The alien symbols on his HUD flared brighter. Two more creatures attacked simultaneously. Chief caught the first by its throat, crushing its windpipe, while delivering a precision kick to the second that shattered its ribcage and sent it flying into laboratory equipment. The remaining scientists had retreated to an emergency exit, sealing it behind them as they fled. Chief moved to the nearest terminal, seeking information, orientation, a means of communication, anything to understand his situation. The screen displayed facility schematics. Union Aerospace Corporation, the header read, Mars Base, Lazarus Labs. Neither the corporation nor the base location registered in his knowledge of Earth's colonial infrastructure. An explosion rocked the facility, throwing Chief against the terminal. The security feeds showed more creatures pouring through breaches in the base, larger ones now. Some wielding crude weapons or spouting fire from appendages. Security forces fought back with energy weapons that cut through the creatures with savage efficiency. But they were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Chief needed a weapon. He scanned the laboratory and spotted a security officer's corpse near the shattered door. The man had died defending the entrance, his weapon still clutched in death-rigid fingers. Chief crossed to the body, noting the uniform different from the scientists', paramilitary in design with the same triangular UAC logo. The weapon was unlike any he had handled before, not UNSC design, nor Covenant. It resembled a pistol but with components that glowed with the same red energy he had seen throughout the facility. He prized it from the officer's hand and checked its mechanisms, different but fundamentally understandable. A trigger, a magazine loaded with what appeared to be energy cells rather than bullets, a charging mechanism on the side. The alien symbols on his HUD reacted to the weapon, displaying what he interpreted as ammunition count and energy levels. His armor was interfacing with the technology somehow. More tremors shook the facility. The lighting switched entirely to emergency mode. "Warning," the computerized voice announced. "Hellwave approaching. All personnel proceed to emergency teleporters." Hellwave, the terminology registered as another anomaly. Religious references in a scientific facility. Chief filed it away and focused on immediate survival. He moved toward the laboratory exit, weapon raised. The corridor beyond was carnage. Bodies of security personnel and scientists littered the floor. The walls were marked with claw gouges and what appeared to be ritualistic symbols painted in blood. Some were identical to those now displayed on his HUD. The Spartan proceeded with caution, checking corners and sightlines as he advanced through the facility. His tactical training assessed threats automatically. The creatures moved with purpose but attacked with frenzy. They could be outmaneuvered with proper timing. Their flesh yielded to concentrated fire from the energy pistol, though the larger variants required multiple shots. Chief found himself navigating through the industrial complex he had glimpsed through the laboratory windows. Massive machinery lined the walls, pumping that same red energy through transparent conduits, processing plants of some kind, manufacturing. But manufacturing what? A scream echoed down an adjacent corridor, human, desperate. Chief changed course, moving toward the sound. Tactical reasoning, potential survivor with information, potential ally. He rounded a corner and found a security officer backed against a wall, firing desperately at 3 advancing creatures. The officer's shots went wide, panic overriding training. Chief eliminated the threats with 3 precise bursts from the energy pistol. The creatures collapsed, their bodies dissolving into the same sizzling fluid he had observed before. The security officer stared at him, weapon still raised. "What the hell are you?" he demanded, taking in Chief's imposing armor, now stained with gore. "Another UAC prototype?" "Master Chief Petty Officer, Sierra 117, Chief responded. "Military protocol dictated identification to potential allies, UNSC Navy." The officer's expression shifted, from fear to confusion. "UNSC? There's no such thing." He lowered his weapon slightly. "Are you from the settlement? One of the engineering corps?" Before Chief could respond, the officer's eyes widened. "Behind you!" Chief spun, raising his weapon. A new creature had entered the corridor larger than the others, hulking, with muscles that rippled beneath leathery skin. It charged with unexpected speed, barreling into Chief before he could fire. The impact sent him sliding across the floor, the energy pistol skittering away. The officer fired at the creature, energy bolts sinking into its hide without slowing its advance. It reached him in 3 massive strides, lifted him by the throat, and tore him in half with a casual twist of its massive hands. Blood sprayed across the corridor walls. Chief was already moving, retrieving the fallen pistol and firing concentrated bursts at the creature's head. It turned toward him, unfazed, and bellowed a challenge. The sound was not the roar of a beast, but something deeper, almost like language. The pistol's energy cell depleted. Chief discarded it and assessed his options. Close combat against an opponent of superior mass and unknown capabilities. High risk, but no alternatives presented themselves. He charged, timing his approach to coincide with the creature's next lumbering step. As it brought its foot down, Chief slid beneath the extended leg, using his momentum to deliver a strike to the back of the creature's knee joint. Normal human anatomy would have buckled. This thing merely staggered. It swung a massive arm, catching Chief's shoulder and sending him crashing into the corridor wall. Warning indicators flashed across his HUD. Impact trauma detected. Minor armor breach at the left shoulder joint. The creature pressed its advantage, charging again. This time, Chief held his ground until the last moment, then sidestepped and used the creature's momentum against it. As it stumbled past, he leapt onto its back, wrapping his arms around its thick neck. The thing thrashed, trying to dislodge him, but Chief maintained his hold, applying steadily increasing pressure to the carotid analog. Whether its physiology matched human standards or not, oxygen deprivation would incapacitate most biological organisms. The creature's struggles grew weaker. It crashed into walls, trying to crush Chief against the metal, but the Spartan held firm. Finally, it collapsed to its knees. Chief released his chokehold, slid to the ground, and with one powerful motion, snapped the creature's neck. The sound of cracking bone echoed through the corridor. As the massive body slumped to the floor, Chief felt that strange heat surge through him again. The alien symbols on his HUD pulsed rapidly, then settled into a new configuration. His armor's energy readings spiked briefly before stabilizing at a higher baseline. He examined the dead security officer, retrieving a keycard and what appeared to be a communication device. The latter was damaged beyond immediate use. The officer's weapon had been crushed during the struggle. Chief continued through the facility, encountering more creatures, demons, as the facility's announcements repeatedly called them. Each engagement taught him more about their behavior and vulnerabilities. The smaller ones died easily with focused attacks to the head or chest. The larger variants required more strategic approaches. He found more weapons as he progressed, a shotgun-like device that fired superheated plasma, a rifle that launched what appeared to be miniature rockets. Each weapon interfaced with his HUD automatically, displaying ammunition counts and energy levels without requiring manual calibration. Whatever changes the UAC had made to his armor, they had integrated their technology with his systems. The facility's layout became clearer as he progressed. Lazarus Labs occupied the uppermost levels of a vast underground complex. Beneath it lay processing plants, living quarters, storage facilities, and even deeper research installations. All of it now overrun with creatures that did not belong in any rational universe. Chief passed through a security checkpoint and found himself on a circular platform overlooking a massive cavern. The sight halted even his combat-focused advance. Far below, stretching to the limits of vision, lay a hellscape of fire and twisted stone. Rivers of lava cut through fields of blackened rock. Massive structures that resembled cathedrals built from bone and sinew rose from the chaos. And moving through it all were legions of the creatures he had been fighting. Thousands upon thousands of them, gathered in formations that suggested military discipline. An invasion force. The platform trembled beneath his feet. Chief turned to find a new threat approaching. A floating creature, its lower body trailing into a mass of tentacles, its upper torso vaguely humanoid, but with too many arms and a head that was little more than a cluster of eyes. It raised appendages that crackled with energy, not the red energy he had seen throughout the facility, but something darker, tainted. The marked one, it spoke, the words forming directly in Chief's mind, rather than through any audible means. Not the one we seek, but marked nonetheless. The Argent flows through you now. You will serve. Chief raised the plasma shotgun and fired. The blast tore through the creature's central mass, severing tentacles and shattering whatever passed for its skeleton. It screamed in his mind, a psychic assault that sent pain lancing through his skull despite his armor's protective systems. As it died, its body dissolving into that same sizzling fluid, images flooded Chief's mind. A planet Mars transformed by industrial expansion, deep drilling operations, the discovery of something ancient buried beneath the surface, a source of unlimited energy the UAC had called Argent, and with it, the opening of pathways to somewhere else, somewhere that human language could only describe as hell. The visions cleared. Chief found himself on his knees, the shotgun still clutched in his hands. The alien symbols on his HUD had changed again, forming patterns that he was beginning to interpret not as language but as a map, a guide. He consulted the security officer's keycard, which contained a partial facility schematic. There was a command center 3 levels up. From there, he might establish communications, understand his location in the broader universe, perhaps even find a way back to UNSC space. The journey through the facility became a battlefield education in this new enemy. Chief encountered variants of the demons that utilized technology alongside their natural weapons. Some carried shields that deflected energy weapons. Others wore armor augmented with the same red Argent energy that flowed through the facility's conduits. He adapted, as Spartans were trained to do. When energy weapons proved ineffective against shielded opponents, he used environmental hazards, luring them into machinery that crushed their bodies or vats of chemicals that dissolved their flesh. When armored variants shrugged off conventional attacks, he targeted joints and weak points, using precision and timing to overcome raw power. And with each kill, that strange heat inside him grew stronger. The alien symbols the map expanded and clarified. His HUD began translating facility signage automatically, confirming his location within the UAC Mars base and providing directional guidance toward the command center. He reached a vast atrium that served as a hub connecting multiple sections of the facility. The space had been converted into a makeshift defensive position. Survivors, UAC security personnel, and what appeared to be administrative staff had established barricades using overturned furniture and equipment. They had mounted automated turrets at strategic points and created choke points at each entrance. As Chief approached, weapons were immediately trained on him. "Hold fire," a voice commanded. A woman in a UAC security uniform with officer insignia stepped forward. "Identify yourself, Master Chief Petty Officer, Sierra 117, he responded, lowering his weapons but maintaining combat readiness. These people were surviving, which meant they had information he needed. The officer studied him, taking in the armor, the weapons, the blood and gore that covered him. "You're not one of ours, not standard UAC design." She narrowed her eyes. "But not one of them either. You're fighting them." Chief nodded once. "I need information. Location. Communication capabilities. Extraction options." A bitter laugh escaped the officer. "Communication with who?" "Earth abandoned us when the first hell wave hit. UAC board members evacuated on private shuttles." She gestured to the survivors behind her. "We're what's left. There are UNSC forces that would respond to a distress call," Chief insisted, "the Infinity, or any nearby battle group." The officer's expression shifted from bitter to confused. "I don't know what the hell UNSC is. There's only UAC and the government contracts they service." She studied him more carefully. "Where exactly do you think you are?" "UAC Mars Base, according to facility designations," Chief responded. "Though this doesn't match any Mars Colonial Administration installation in UNSC records." The officer exchanged glances with her personnel. "What year do you think it is?" An alarm triggered in Chief's tactical assessment. Chronological disorientation suggested more than simple relocation. 2560, he answered, using the last date he recalled before awakening in the UAC facility. The officer's face paled. "It's 2163, she said. "And I've never heard of any UNSC. The UAC is humanity's primary aerospace and defense contractor. Has been for decades." The tactical implications were immediate and overwhelming, not simply another planet or system, but another timeline entirely. Another universe with its own history, its own trajectory for humanity. The Covenant, the Flood, the Forerunners, none of it might exist here. "How did you get here?" The officer pressed. "Were you in one of the labs when the breach occurred?" "I was being held in a research facility," Chief confirmed. "They mentioned finding me in a slipspace anomaly." Recognition dawned in the officer's eyes. "Lazarus Labs, Dr. Pierce's Dimensional Research Division. They've been detecting anomalies for months, bringing in objects for study. Said they were receiving guidance from somewhere." Her expression hardened. "Their work is what caused this invasion in the first place." Another survivor approached, this one in a scientist's uniform, spattered with blood and soot. "The dimensional breach in Lazarus was only the beginning," he said. "They found something when they drilled into the Argent source, something that had been sealed away. The demons were already here, waiting beneath the surface." Chief processed this information against the flashes of vision he had received from the floating creature. "What is Argent energy?" The scientist looked troubled. "It's a renewable energy source discovered during UAC's Mars excavation. Limitless, clean, revolutionary. But we didn't understand what it really was." He lowered his voice. "It's their energy, the demons. We've been tapping into hell itself for power." The facility shuddered around them. Distant explosions echoed through the structure. The officer checked a monitoring device. "They're moving through the processing plant below us, heading for the main Argent reactor. If they overload it," the scientist warned, "the resulting explosion will tear open the dimensional barriers completely. Mars will become an extension of their realm." The officer made a quick decision. "We've been trying to reach the command center to activate the emergency protocols. There's a facility-wide purge system designed for containment. Breaches, it would destroy the reactor safely, sever the connection to their dimension." "Why haven't you reached it?" Chief asked, already calculating routes and threat assessments. "The central elevator hub is overrun," she explained. "We've lost 3 teams trying to break through. They've fortified it specifically to prevent access to the command levels. Strategic analysis completed in milliseconds. I'll clear a path," Chief stated. Not a boast, simply tactical reality. His Spartan training and augmentations, combined with whatever changes the UAC had made to his system, made him uniquely suited for the task. The officer studied him, measuring his capabilities against what she had witnessed of the demon's strength. "We'll provide support where we can. Security systems throughout the facility can be accessed from local terminals. We can control some doors, turret systems, even environmental controls in certain sections." "I need heavier weapons," Chief said. The survivors exchanged glances. The scientist spoke first. "There's a prototype in the security armory, subsection 8B, the BFG 9000, energy cannon that utilizes concentrated argent. 1 shot would clear the elevator hub." "It's 3 sections away," the officer warned, "through maintenance tunnels that are probably infested." Chief checked his current weapons. The plasma shotgun was low on energy cells. The rocket rifle had 5 rounds remaining, enough to reach an armory if he moved efficiently. "Coordinate with me through the facility systems," he instructed. "I'll retrieve the weapon and clear the elevator hub. Be ready to move when I signal." The officer nodded. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen. If you help us activate the purge, I'll do everything I can to help you find a way back to wherever you came from." Chief acknowledged with a nod and turned to depart. "Wait," Chen called after him. "You should know. You're not the only one hunting down there." Chief paused. "There's something else moving through the facility. Something fast, efficient. It's killing them by the dozens. We caught glimpses on security feeds before they were disabled." Her expression was unreadable. "At first, we thought it might be another UAC prototype, a security robot or combat android. But it's more than that. It's like it has a purpose, a mission." She hesitated. "The demons, they fear it. We've heard them through the vents sometimes, communicating in that language of theirs. They have a name for it." "What do they call it?" Chief asked. "The Doomslayer," Chen replied, "and they're more afraid of him than they are of dying." Chief absorbed this information. Another variable, potentially an ally, but just as likely another threat in an already hostile environment. He would proceed with caution. The maintenance tunnels connecting to the armory were narrow conduits designed for repair crews and automated service drones. Chief moved through them with practiced efficiency, encountering scattered resistance. The confined space actually worked to his advantage, limiting the demons' numerical superiority and preventing their larger variants from maneuvering effectively. He eliminated threats methodically, conserving ammunition and utilizing his enhanced strength for close combat kills when possible. Each demonic death sent another pulse of that alien heat through his system. The map in his HUD grew more detailed with each encounter. It was almost as if his armor was learning from the demons, absorbing something from them. Chief reached a junction where the maintenance tunnel opened into a larger service bay. Equipment lockers lined the walls. Repair vehicles sat abandoned, and moving among them were demons unlike any he had encountered so far. They walked upright but hunched, with elongated arms that ended in wickedly curved blades rather than hands. Their heads were eyeless, splitting open into massive jaws lined with needle-like teeth. They moved with unsettling grace, communicating through clicks and hisses. Chief counted 6 of them, arranged in a hunting formation he recognized from encounters with Covenant Special Forces. These weren't mindless beasts. They were trained killers, executing search patterns. He considered his options. The service bay stood between him and the route to the armory. No bypasses visible on the facility schematics Chen had uploaded to his HUD. Direct confrontation would deplete his remaining ammunition with no guarantee of success. The creature's blade arm suggested close-quarter lethality that would make hand-to-hand combat extremely dangerous. Tactical assessment complete, Chief opted for distraction. He retrieved a power cell from his remaining weapons and overcharged it by cross-connecting the terminals. The resulting device was crude but effective, an improvised explosive with a 30-second timer. He launched it through the service bay entrance, aiming for the far side of the chamber. The cell skittered across the floor, drawing the immediate attention of the blade-armed demons. They converged on it, wary but curious, their hunting formation momentarily abandoned. The explosion ripped through the service bay, not powerful enough to kill the creatures, but sufficient to disorient them and create the chaos Chief needed. He moved in immediately, targeting the nearest demon with his remaining rocket rifle rounds. The first shot connected, tearing the creature apart in a spray of viscera and bone. The others recovered quickly, shifting from disorientation to coordinated attack with frightening speed. They spread out, attempting to flank him from multiple angles. Chief recognized the tactic and countered by positioning himself near one of the repair vehicles, using it to protect his rear while establishing a kill zone in front of him. Two demons charged simultaneously from opposite directions. Chief fired his last rocket rounds, eliminating one, then pivoted to engage the other in close combat. He caught the creature's blade arm just before it could pierce his armor, locking it in place with Spartan strength. The demon's second arm slashed toward his helmet. Chief ducked beneath the attack and drove his armored knee into the creature's torso with enough force to shatter its internal structure. It collapsed, still hissing and clicking, until Chief silenced it with a crushing stomp to its skull. The remaining three attacked as one, having assessed his combat capabilities and adjusted their approach. Chief retrieved a heavy wrench from a nearby workbench and wielded it as an improvised weapon. The first demon received the tool through its jaw, the force of the blow driving metal through bone and brain matter. The second managed to score a hit, its blade arm scraping across Chief's chest armor, leaving a deep gouge in the plating but failing to penetrate to the undersuit. Chief grappled with this demon, using its body as a shield against the third's attack. Blade arms pierced the struggling creature as its companion failed to check its assault. Chief used the momentary tangle to retrieve his plasma shotgun, jammed its barrel against the third demon's eyeless face, and fired the last energy cell. The creature's head vaporized in a burst of superheated matter. The service bay fell silent, except for the hiss of cooling metal and the drip of demonic fluids. Chief surveyed the carnage dispassionately, noting that his armor had suffered moderate damage but remained functional. Internal diagnostics reported no breach of the undersuit. His vital signs showed elevated heart rate and respiration, but within acceptable parameters for intense combat. That alien heat surged through him again, stronger this time. The map on his HUD pulsed, revealing new pathways and highlighting the route to the armory with greater clarity. Chief moved forward, leaving the slaughtered hunting pack behind. The armory was located behind reinforced security doors that had automatically sealed during the facility lockdown. Chief used the keycard obtained from the dead officer to access the adjacent security station. The terminal inside allowed him to override the lockdown protocols for this specific section. The armory doors slid open to reveal racks of energy weapons, ammunition stores, and security armor. Most remarkable, however, was the weapon secured in a specialized containment unit at the center of the room. It matched no design in Chief's extensive knowledge of human or Covenant weaponry. Massive, with components that pulsed with concentrated argent energy, its very presence seemed to distort the air around it. The BFG 9000, according to the identification plate, Chief approached the containment unit and found it secured with biometric locks. Another obstacle. He returned to the security terminal and searched for override protocols. The system required command-level authorization, which he lacked. A new message appeared on his HUD Lieutenant Commander Chen, establishing contact through the facility systems. Chief, do you copy? We're tracking your position through the security grid. You've reached the armory. Affirmative, he responded. The weapon is secured behind biometric locks. Need override authorization. Stand by. A pause. We can't override remotely. The BFG protocols are isolated from the main security network, but there should be an emergency release mechanism. UAC regulations require all prototype weapons to have manual extraction capability in case of containment failure. Chief examined the containment unit more carefully. Behind the primary housing, partially concealed by cooling apparatus, he located a mechanical lever marked with emergency release symbols. He activated it, and the unit's reinforced glass shield retracted with a pneumatic hiss. The BFG 9000 was even more impressive up close. Its weight would have made it unwieldy for a normal human, but to Chief, it felt perfectly balanced. The weapon interfaced with his HUD immediately, displaying energy levels and targeting data. According to the readouts, it contained enough power for 3 shots at maximum capacity. I've secured the weapon, Chief reported. Proceeding to the elevator hub. Be advised, Chen responded, her voice tense. We're picking up massive movement throughout the facility. Whatever you did in that service bay stirred up a hornet's nest. They're converging on the routes between you and the hub. Tactical assessment updated. Increased resistance expected. Chief accessed the armory inventory through the security terminal and located additional weaponry to supplement the BFG. A plasma rifle with fully charged energy cells, fragmentation grenades modified to deliver argent energy pulses upon detonation. He secured them efficiently, checking each weapon's function before proceeding. The journey to the elevator hub became a gauntlet of increasingly coordinated demonic resistance. The creatures had adapted to his presence, setting ambushes at choke points and deploying their specialized units strategically. Chief responded by varying his tactics, never establishing a pattern they could anticipate. When they expected direct assault, he used the facility's maintenance shafts to bypass their positions. When they guarded vital junctions, he created diversions by overloading nearby power systems. His Spartan training, combined with decades of combat experience against the Covenant and the Flood, made him a ghost in the facility, appearing where least expected and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. The alien map in his HUD continued to expand with each encounter, each kill. It was as if his armor, or perhaps his altered physiology, was building a more complete understanding of this hellish invasion with each demon he eliminated. The map began to show not just the facility layout, but energy fluctuations, dimensional weak points, and gatherings of demonic forces. Chief reached the approach to the elevator hub and halted in a secured maintenance room to assess the situation. The hub was a vast circular chamber with elevator shafts leading to all levels of the facility. According to Chen's intelligence, it had been transformed into a demonic stronghold, fortified specifically to prevent access to the command center above. I'm in position, Chief reported. Need current intel on hub defenses. We managed to access one camera feed, Chen responded. Transmitting to you now. The image appeared on his HUD, grainy and distorted but sufficient for tactical assessment. The elevator hub had indeed been transformed. The demons had erected barriers of twisted metal and what appeared to be organic matter bone, sinew, and chitin fused together into defensive structures. The central platform had been converted into some kind of ritual space, with symbols carved into the floor that pulsed with dark energy. Most concerning were the demons themselves. At least 30 of the basic combat variants patrolled the perimeter. 5 of the larger, more heavily muscled types stood guard at strategic points. But the true threat was positioned at the center of the ritual space, a towering creature that stood 3 times Chief's height, with massive horns curving from its skull and armor plates fused directly into its red flesh. It carried a weapon that appeared to be a living thing itself, a cannon of bone and metal that breathed fire. What is that? Chief asked, indicating the central figure. Hell Knight, Chen replied, her voice tight with fear. A commander. They're coordinating the invasion from strategic points throughout the facility. Chief calculated odds of success. Even with the BFG, engaging that many hostiles simultaneously presented extreme risk. Any support options available? We've got control of the environmental systems for that section, Chen confirmed. Cooling, ventilation, emergency fire suppression. Limited but potentially useful. Can you trigger the fire suppression at my signal? Affirmative. It will release flame-retardant foam throughout the hub. Visibility will be severely compromised for about 30 seconds before the ventilation systems clear it. A plan formed. Stand by. On my mark, trigger all environmental controls simultaneously. Maximum disruption. Chief positioned himself at the maintenance room's exit, which opened onto a service corridor leading directly to the hub's outer perimeter. He readied the BFG, checking its power systems one final time. The weapon hummed with barely contained energy. His HUD displayed optimal firing solutions, calculating destructive radius and effect on structural integrity. Mark, Chief transmitted. The hub's environmental systems activated simultaneously. Sprinklers released clouds of fire suppression foam. Ventilation fans reversed direction, creating a swirling chaos of air currents. Emergency lights strobed, transforming the space into a disorienting nightmare of shifting shadows and momentary blindness. Chief moved, emerging from the service corridor into the confused perimeter of the hub. The basic combat demons reacted slowly, their senses overwhelmed by the environmental assault. He ignored them, targeting the Hell Knight at the center of the ritual space. The BFG charged with a rising whine that cut through the chaos of the hub. Chief felt the weapon drawing energy not just from its internal power source, but from him as well, from that alien heat that had been building inside him since his awakening in the UAC facility. The symbols on his HUD aligned with his targeting systems, creating a perfect firing solution. He fired. The BFG released its charge in a concentrated sphere of argent energy that tore through the air with reality-distorting force. Where it passed, the very atmosphere seemed to ignite. It struck the Hell Knight directly in the chest, and for a moment, the massive demon stood frozen, illuminated from within by green fire. Then it exploded, not just its body, but the energy contained within it, releasing a shockwave that rippled outward. Every lesser demon within 20 meters was instantly vaporized, reduced to superheated particles that dissipated into the air. The ritual space collapsed, the symbols carved into the floor shattering like glass. The surviving demons reacted with something Chief had not witnessed in them before: panic. They scattered, abandoning defensive positions, some even diving into elevator shafts in their desperation to escape. The BFG had not simply killed their commander, but had unmade it in a way that struck primal fear into whatever passed for their souls. Chief advanced through the devastated hub, eliminating stragglers with precision shots from his plasma rifle. The elevator control systems had been damaged in the explosion but remained partially functional. One shaft still provided access to the command levels. Chief secured the area and transmitted to Chen. Hub cleared. One elevator operational. Proceed to my position. Copy that. Chen responded, relief evident in her voice. We're moving out now. ETA 5 minutes. Hold position. Chief took the opportunity to assess his condition. The BFG's discharge had drained something from him, reducing that alien heat to a simmer rather than a blaze. His HUD diagnostics showed increased strain on his armor's power systems. The alien symbols the map had changed again, focusing now on the upper levels of the facility, particularly the command center. The survivors arrived in a tight formation, Chen leading with the remaining security personnel, forming a protective cordon around the civilians. They moved with disciplined efficiency that spoke of military training beneath the UAC corporate structure. Chen surveyed the devastated hub, her eyes widening at the scale of destruction. One shot did this? Chief nodded, indicating the BFG now secured on his back. The weapon draws on argent energy, effective against these hostiles. Let's hope it works as well on whatever's guarding the command center, she said, directing her team toward the operational elevator. The emergency purge controls require command authorization. Dr. Hayden has the necessary codes. The scientist chief had met earlier, stepped forward, clutching a data tablet. I can initiate the sequence, but it will take time. The system was designed with multiple failsafes to prevent accidental activation. How long? Chief asked, already calculating defensive requirements for the operation. 5 minutes minimum, Hayden replied. Possibly longer if systems have been damaged. Tactical assessment updated. 5 minutes was an eternity in combat conditions. The demons would sense the attempt to activate the purge and respond with overwhelming force. We'll need to establish a defensive perimeter, Chief stated. The command center becomes a fortress. All approaches secured, maximum coverage, with minimum personnel. Chen nodded in agreement. We've got 14 combat-capable personnel, including myself. 4 with engineering expertise who can repair systems if needed. Divide into 3 teams, Chief instructed. 2 defending the primary access points. 1 mobile reserve to respond to breaches. He turned to Hayden. You focus exclusively on the purge activation. No distractions. The elevator ascended to the command levels, the car groaning under the strain of damage sustained during the facility collapse. Chief used the time to brief the security teams on demon capabilities he had observed, vulnerabilities he had exploited, and effective combat tactics. The doors opened onto the command center antechamber. Unlike the lower levels, this area showed less damage from the invasion. Administrative offices and control rooms branched off from a central corridor leading to the main command hub. Signs of hasty evacuation were everywhere. Abandoned workstations, personal items, scattered in the rush to escape. Doors left ajar. Chen deployed her teams as planned, establishing defensive positions at the elevator access point and the emergency stairwell that provided the only other route to this level. Chief accompanied Hayden to the main command hub, where the purge controls were located. The hub was a circular room dominated by a massive holographic display showing the entire Mars facility. Much of the display glowed red, indicating areas lost to the invasion. Hayden moved immediately to the central control station and began the purge activation sequence. The system is still operational, he reported, fingers moving across the interface with practiced efficiency. Beginning authorization protocols. Chief took position near the hub entrance, the BFG ready but reserved for critical threats. His plasma rifle would suffice for standard engagements. The alien map on his HUD now displayed energy fluctuations throughout the facility, concentrations of demonic presence, and something else, a point of intense activity moving through the lower levels. Moving upward. We have company incoming, Chief warned, multiple hostiles converging on this position. He switched to the comm channel linked to Chen's teams. Prepare for engagement. The response came immediately. Weapons fire erupted from the defensive positions. The demons had arrived sooner than anticipated, swarming up the emergency stairwell and forcing the elevator doors on multiple lower levels. Status, Chief demanded, holding at the elevator. Chen reported, her voice steady despite the chaos audible in the background. But they're using something new. Some kind of teleportation. Demons appearing behind our lines. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly. Chief heard the security teams calling out new threats, positions being overrun, fallback procedures initiated. The defense was collapsing. Dr. Hayden. Chief turned to the scientist. Time to completion? 3 minutes. Hayden replied, never looking up from the control station. The system is accepting the authorization codes but requires confirmation from multiple stations. Safety protocols. Chief made a rapid decision. Continue the sequence. I'll secure the perimeter. He exited the command hub, moving toward the sounds of combat. The security teams were engaged in desperate fighting throughout the antechamber. Demons had indeed breached their defensive positions, teleporting directly into their midst. Chen had fallen back to a secondary position, rallying the survivors around a makeshift barricade constructed from overturned desks and equipment. Chief assessed the situation and engaged, targeting the largest concentration of demons with precision fire from his plasma rifle. The creatures turned toward this new threat, momentarily relieving pressure on Chen's position. He moved constantly, never presenting a stationary target, using the administrative offices for cover and concealment as he systematically reduced the demonic presence. A new tremor shook the facility, more violent than any before. The holographic display in the command hub flickered, sections changing from red to a deep purple that pulsed like a heartbeat. "The Argent reactor is destabilizing," Hayden's voice came through Chief's comm. "Energy readings are off the scale. The dimensional barriers are beginning to collapse." Chief eliminated the last visible demon in the antechamber and rejoined Chen at her position. Status report. She was wounded, a deep gash across her left arm that had been hastily bandaged. "We've lost 8 personnel. The rest are injured but combat capable." Her expression was grim. "They're changing tactics, becoming more aggressive, more coordinated." Another tremor, stronger still. The lights flickered throughout the command level. Emergency systems activated, bathing everything in red illumination. 1 minute to purge activation, Hayden reported. "The system is accepting the final authorization codes." Chen's communication device crackled with static, then cleared. A voice came through, strained with effort and interference. "Incoming. Massive portal formation in central research. Cannot contain." The transmission dissolved into screams, then silence. Chief turned toward the elevator shaft, sensing rather than seeing the approach of something significant. The alien map on his HUD pulsed a warning. A massive concentration of energy was rising through the facility, approaching their position with impossible speed. "It's coming," he stated, readying the BFG. "All personnel, fall back to the command hub. Establish final defensive line." Chen rallied her remaining forces, directing them into the hub where Hayden worked feverishly at the control station. Chief took position at the antechamber entrance, calculating firing solutions and optimal engagement ranges for the BFG's remaining charges. The elevator shaft erupted in flames, not the relatively controlled fire of human technology, but something alive, sentient, hungry. It spread across the ceiling of the antechamber, forming patterns that resembled the symbols Chief had seen throughout the facility, the same symbols that now filled his HUD. From within the fire emerged a figure that defied rational comprehension. It resembled the Hell Knight in basic structure but vastly larger, its body a fusion of flesh, metal, and energy. Great horns of bone and argent crystal curved from its skull. Wings of fire and shadow spread from its back. In one hand it carried a sword that burned with the same living flame that had announced its arrival. In the other, a staff topped with a human skull wreathed in green fire. "Cyber demon," Chen whispered, the name a prayer and a curse combined. The creature surveyed the antechamber, its gaze finally settling on Chief. It spoke, its voice a rumble that shook dust from the ceiling. "The usurper comes. The Argent touched one who is not Slayer." It raised its flaming sword. "You will not interfere with the ascension." Chief activated the BFG, feeling it draw power from his altered physiology. The weapon charged, aligning with the alien map on his HUD to calculate maximum effect. He fired. The Argent sphere struck the cyber demon directly in the chest, just as it had the Hell Knight. But where the lesser demon had been unmade by the weapon's power, this creature merely staggered. The energy dissipated across its form, absorbed into the metal and crystal components of its body. It laughed, the sound like continents grinding together. "The weapons of the UAC are pale imitations of Hell's true power," it rumbled. "We gave them the Argent. We allowed them to harness it. Did they believe we would not build safeguards into our gift?" It raised the staff, and the skull at its tip released a pulse of green fire that lanced toward Chief. He dodged, but the energy followed him, curving through the air to strike his armor. Warning indicators flashed across his HUD as his shields failed completely. The alien map distorted, symbols scrambling before reforming in new configurations. The cyberdemon advanced, each step shaking the floor beneath it. Chief fired the BFG again, targeting a different point, the juncture where flesh met metal at the creature's neck. This time the weapon's effect was more pronounced. The cyberdemon roared in pain as argent energy disrupted the unholy fusion of its components. But still it came, raising its flaming sword for a killing blow. Chief evaded, analyzing the creature's movements, identifying patterns and limitations. Its massive size made it powerful but slow. Its attacks were devastating but telegraphed. He could exploit these weaknesses, but not with conventional weapons. The BFG had one charge remaining, insufficient to eliminate the threat. A new strategy formed. The alien map on his HUD had been highlighting energy conduits throughout their battle, showing the flow of Argent through the facility. One massive conduit ran directly beneath the antechamber floor, feeding power to the command center systems. If breached, the resulting Argent discharge would be catastrophic. Hayden, Chief commed as he dodged another attack from the cyberdemon. Status of the purge activation: 20 seconds. The scientist responded. Final confirmation sequence initiating. Chief calculated timing, trajectory, effect. When I give the signal, everyone brace for impact. Purge activation must continue regardless of what happens. He fired his plasma rifle at the cyberdemon's face, not to damage but to distract. The creature roared in annoyance, focusing its attention fully on Chief. It charged, building momentum with each thunderous step, flaming sword raised high. Chief stood his ground, timing his move with Spartan precision. At the last possible moment, he sidestepped the charge and fired the BFG's final charge not at the cyberdemon, but at the floor beneath it. The weapon's Argent sphere tore through the antechamber floor, rupturing the power conduit beneath. Raw Argent energy erupted upward, catching the cyberdemon mid-stride. The creature's momentum carried it directly into the center of the rupture, where the concentrated energy enveloped its massive form. For a moment, the cyberdemon stood suspended in the fountain of Argent, its body illuminated from within by competing energies, the green fire of its own power, and the red-white intensity of the UAC's processed Argent. Then the energies destabilized, reacting catastrophically with each other. "Now," Chief transmitted, diving for cover behind a reinforced section of wall. The explosion ripped through the antechamber, tearing apart the ceiling and walls. The command hub's reinforced structure shielded Hayden and the survivors from the worst of the blast, but the force still knocked them to the ground. Warning indicators flashed across Chief's HUD. Armor integrity compromised in multiple sections, internal environment controls fluctuating, power systems operating at minimal capacity. When the dust settled, the antechamber was gone, reduced to a twisted ruin of metal and stone. Where the cyberdemon had stood was nothing but a scorched crater in the floor, edges glowing with residual Argent energy. Of the creature itself, no trace remained. Chief pulled himself to his feet, systems slowly stabilizing. Chen emerged from the command hub, supporting an injured security officer. "Did you kill it?" she asked, staring at the destruction. "Temporarily," Chief responded, having learned enough about these demons to know death was rarely permanent for them. "Hayden?" "Purge sequence activated," the scientist confirmed, emerging behind Chen. He held up the data tablet, its screen displaying a countdown. 3 minutes until complete facility sterilization. The tremors continued, increasing in frequency and intensity. The holographic display in the command hub showed massive sections of the facility changing from red to purple, the demonic presence growing stronger as the dimensional barriers weakened further. "We need to evacuate," Chen stated. "There's an emergency shuttle bay on this level, 2 transports with enough capacity for the survivors." Chief nodded. "Lead them out. I'll ensure the purge completes." Chen hesitated. "The purge is automated now. Nothing can stop it. Come with us." "The cyberdemon targeted me specifically," Chief explained. "Called me the Argent Touched One. It will return, or something worse will take its place. I need to ensure they don't interfere with the purge." Understanding dawned in Chen's eyes. "You're staying behind as rear guard." Chief nodded once. It was the tactical decision, the logical choice. The survivors needed time to reach the shuttle bay and launch before the purge sequence completed. Someone had to ensure that happened. "There's something else you should know," Hayden interjected, his expression troubled. "The purge won't just destroy the facility, it's designed to collapse the dimensional breach completely." He hesitated. "If you were brought here through such a breach?" The implications were clear. When the purge activated, any pathways between dimensions would be severed. Any hope of returning to his own universe would vanish, along with the UAC facility. Chief absorbed this information dispassionately. Survival had always been a secondary consideration to mission success. If ensuring the demon's defeat meant permanent exile in this reality, so be it. "Understood," he responded. "Proceed with evacuation." Chen seemed about to protest, then changed her mind. She recognized the resolve of a soldier who had made a final decision. Instead, she offered a military salute, which Chief returned with ingrained precision. "Godspeed." "Master Chief," she said, "whatever universe you came from, they should be proud of the warriors they create." She turned to her remaining personnel, issuing rapid evacuation orders. Within moments, they had gathered the survivors and begun moving toward the shuttle bay, following a route that circumvented the devastated antechamber. Chief remained in the command hub, monitoring the purge countdown and the facility status through the holographic display. The demonic presence continued to grow, purple sections pulsing with increased activity, as if the creatures sensed the coming purge and were racing to prevent it. 2 minutes remained on the countdown when the alien map on Chief's HUD issued a warning. A new presence had entered the facility. Not demonic, something else. It moved through the purple sections with incredible speed, leaving darkness in its wake. Areas cleared of demonic presence. Chief accessed the few remaining security feeds, cycling through cameras until he found one that showed this new entity in action. The image was grainy, distorted by interference, but sufficient to identify the subject. A figure in armor that resembled Chief's own in function if not form. Heavier, more primitive in design, yet moving with devastating efficiency through hordes of demons. It wielded weapons similar to those Chief had collected: shotguns, plasma rifles, rocket launchers, but with a savagery that transcended military precision. This wasn't combat as Chief understood it. This was annihilation, righteous fury given physical form. The Doomslayer. The figure paused in its rampage, helmet turning toward the camera as if sensing Chief's observation. For a moment, two warriors from different universes regarded each other through the digital link. No words were exchanged, none were needed. Recognition passed between them, acknowledgement of shared purpose if not shared methods. Then the Slayer turned away, continuing its mission of extermination, moving deeper into the facility rather than toward the command levels. The message was clear: the purge was Chief's responsibility. The demons were the Slayers. 1 minute remained when the tremors intensified dramatically. The command hub's reinforced walls began to crack. The holographic display flickered, sections disappearing entirely as the sensors monitoring those areas failed. Chief's HUD warned of critical structural failure throughout the facility. 30 seconds. The alien map on Chief's display changed again, the symbols aligning into a pattern he hadn't seen before. A warning. A final message translated through whatever connection had formed between his altered physiology and this hellish dimension. They were coming back. The cyberdemon had been merely the vanguard. Something larger was forcing its way through the weakened dimensional barriers. Something ancient and terrible that saw the purge countdown as a challenge rather than a death sentence. Chief moved to the command station where Hayden had initiated the purge. The controls were locked, the sequence progressing automatically as designed. But beneath the main console, partially concealed, was an emergency override. a manual trigger that would activate the purge immediately rather than waiting for the countdown to complete. A final option, a last resort, 20 seconds. The command hub ceiling tore open, ripped apart not by physical force but by reality itself unraveling. Through the breach poured living fire, the same sentient flame that had heralded the cyberdemon's arrival, but this was magnitudes greater. A conflagration of impossible scale condensed into the limited space of the command center. From within the fire emerged a massive clawed hand, large enough to crush a scorpion tank in its grip. It reached toward Chief, reality distorting around its fingers as physical laws struggled to accommodate its presence in this dimension. 10 seconds, Chief made his decision. He activated the manual override, entering the emergency sequence Hayden had left displayed on the terminal. The purge would trigger immediately, destroying the facility, collapsing the dimensional breach, and severing any connection to his home universe. But it would ensure the demon's defeat. It would complete the mission. The fire engulfed him as the override accepted his input. Pain beyond anything he had experienced burned through his armor, through his altered physiology, through the very core of his being. The alien map on his HUD flared with blinding intensity, symbols scrolling faster than even his enhanced perception could follow. As consciousness began to fade, one final image formed in Chief's mind, not of the UNSC or Earth or even his fellow Spartans, but of the Doomslayer, still fighting in the depths of the facility, unaware that its destruction was now imminent. Another warrior who had found purpose in endless battle against forces beyond human comprehension. In that moment, Chief understood the true nature of the argent energy that had been pumped into his body, the changes it had made to his already augmented physiology. It was rage distilled, fury given form and function, the essence of defiance against inevitable doom. The Slayer had mastered it, become one with it. Chief had only begun to comprehend its potential. The purge activated. The Mars facility, the dimensional breach, the demonic invasion, all of it collapsed in upon itself as designed, imploding with precision engineered by UAC scientists who had finally understood the magnitude of the threat they had unleashed. In the vacuum of the Martian surface, nothing remained to mark the catastrophe except a massive crater and the lingering echo of humanity's brush with hell itself. In the void between dimensions, suspended between annihilation and rebirth, something within Master Chief changed. The argent energy that had been forced into his system found resonance with the Spartan augmentations, with the neural interface of his MJOLNR armor, with the indomitable will that had carried him through decades of impossible warfare. It crystallized, becoming something new, something that belonged neither to the demons nor to the UAC scientists who had processed it for human use, something uniquely his. When consciousness returned, Chief found himself drifting in an endless blackness. No HUD, no armor systems, no sensation of body or form, just awareness suspended in nothingness. And before him, a point of light that grew steadily brighter, resolving into a familiar shape, a portal, a rupture in reality, a doorway back to somewhere else, not his universe. He understood that instinctively. The purge had sealed that path permanently, but somewhere, another reality, another war waiting to be fought, another purpose to be found. Chief moved toward the light, drawn by instinct and necessity. As he approached, he sensed another presence nearby, moving parallel to his course but not directly with him. He couldn't see it clearly, but he recognized it nonetheless. The Slayer had found its own path through the void. For the briefest moment, Chief felt a connection, an acknowledgement between warriors cast adrift in the spaces between worlds. Then it was gone, the Slayer continuing on its eternal mission, seeking the demons it was destined to hunt across dimensions and time itself. Chief passed through the portal, reality reasserting itself around him. His armor rematerialized, systems rebooting one by one. The alien map appeared on his HUD, but changed now, no longer showing physical spaces but connections between realities, pathways through dimensions, the underlying structure of the multiverse itself. And within that map, a purpose, a mission that transcended the boundaries of any single universe. The demons existed in all realities, corrupting and consuming as they spread across dimensions. They had many names, many forms, but always the same essential nature. And now, like the Slayer, Chief had been marked by his contact with them, transformed into something that could follow them across the barriers between worlds. He had entered the UAC Mars facility as a Spartan, the Master Chief, humanity's greatest defender in one isolated reality. He emerged as something more, something that carried the essence of the Doomslayer's eternal purpose alongside his own indomitable will. The portal deposited him on a battlefield he did not recognize, in a war whose parameters he did not yet understand. But it did not matter. He would adapt, he would learn, he would fight, for that was what he had been created to do. In any universe, against any enemy, until the final victory or the final defeat. The Spartan turned Slayer checked his weapons, oriented himself, and moved forward into the unknown.